Hey guys, I am back and it's the second time in a day. But I told you I was going to make a video on how to be more charismatic if that's not something that comes natural to you. And the theory used to be that you got it or you don't, but that isn't true because sociopaths learn to be charismatic and they don't innately have these features. They don't all have them. In fact, they have very few personality characteristics. Everything they get, they absorb and they learn by watching and copying and emulating others. So if they can do it, then we can do it too. And we don't need to be sociopaths to be able to watch and learn. So I'm going to give you 5 tips. And what I've done is I've made notes. So I will stay on track and not keep you for 20 freaking minutes. So we're going to make it quick. So first part, number 1, first thing, if you want to be more charismatic, is embrace your imperfections. So there is an experiment that was done, and it involved 2 servers, and it was a competition between who would make more tips. And one of the servers was delivering all of her drinks, all of her meals, everything was perfect. She did a great job, everything was great. And the second server was intentionally spilling all of her meals and having an accident and dumping stuff on the way to the tables, right? So and you would assume that the person who did a perfect job serving would make more tips, but no, it was actually the one that had the accidents and would drop a drink on somebody, or who would accidentally dump half the table over delivering a meal, a plate, that sort of thing. Because she was cute about it, she was gracious about their understanding and their acceptance of it, and the way she handled it was very kind and gracious, and she accepted her mistakes and her errors and was apologetic and sweet, and she was valued for that. That was seen as a valuable quality, and so she was rewarded and she won the higher tips that night. So embracing your imperfections is a huge part of being a charismatic person. Knowing where your strengths are and where they lie is wonderful, but also knowing where your weaknesses are, or not your weaknesses, but your opportunities for improvement per se, are very important. Now, this is not to say to go around discussing and self-deprecating and talking poorly about yourself. I would never advise that, ever. That's not like an attractive quality ever. But to be able to admit if you've done wrong, or to acknowledge if you've done something. I'm sorry, my cat's doing something so cute, it's so distracting. He hears my son skateboarding up the road and he's running to the window and he can hear the skateboard. Anyways, that's not in my notes. I should shut up about it. Anyways, so yeah, don't be self-deprecating, but if you make a mistake or you say something wrong or say something rude, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I really shouldn't have said that. Like, that, wow, that was out of line. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's actually an endearing quality and it makes you more charismatic. So point number 2 is don't be a conversational narcissist. So CEOs, leaders, people you admire, you look to, the heads of companies, the biggest leaders in the world, when they are planning and going to social events, they're not sitting and planning and thinking, what am I going to tell everybody about myself tonight? What am I going to do? What they're thinking of is what are the most interesting questions I can ask people tonight? What are the questions I can ask to get to know people the quickest or in the most efficient way? Like what questions will tell me the most about people, about someone if I ask them, okay? So those are the kind of conversations you want to have. You have one mouth and 2 ears, so we should do more listening and less talking. So what we want to do is when we have an opportunity to talk, sure, it's nice if someone asks you a question, like I mentioned in my previous video, don't talk about yourself unless somebody asks you a question about yourself. Use your opportunities to speak to draw more out of other people. That is an endearing quality. That is a charismatic feature or factor or characterization of somebody's behavior. And that is an opportunity to learn more about everybody around you. And I'm telling you, the more you learn about people, the more you grow and become a bigger and better person. And it gives you a star quality. The more people you know and understand, you gain a quality and a value that is irreplaceable just by understanding people from all walks of life, from different cultures, different religions, different faiths, different different levels of education, different backgrounds, different lifestyles, like all to learn about all different people gives you a quality that you can't buy, you can't pay for in a classroom, and it gives you charisma because it teaches you how to communicate with everybody in the appropriate way at the appropriate time on their level, and that is a charismatic quality that can't be replaced. And the third point is to glorify, don't gossip, people. So there's something called spontaneous transference, and it's a scientific term. This is science-based. Back to the science again. You know, I love my science. And what it is that if I say something bad about somebody to you, you will innately project that poor quality that I just talked about on that person that I was speaking of and on me as well. Okay? And that is spontaneous transference. That's an example of it. But the opposite happens if I say something wonderful about someone. So if I were to see someone in the room and say, oh my gosh, there's Julia. Do you know how she presented last week at a conference? And I watched her and she was so on target. She was so impressive. She represented the organization so well. I'm really just so impressed with her and the work she did. And she was so prepared and so on the ball. And she had the whole room engaged. Like everybody was hanging off her every word. You glorify people and you do it authentically and you do it where it's deserved and where it's earned. Glorify people, don't gossip, because when you talk wonderfully about people, those qualities are also spontaneously transferred onto you as well. So the more wonderful things you say about others, the more wonderfully people will perceive you as well. And the more poorly you talk about others, that will be transferred onto your character as well. So that's point number 3. See, we're moving through it. So now we're going to get to body language. I'm on my second notebook here. Lots of good notes. So we talked about this in my last video, showing your hands. Women have been trained to hide their hands. Keep your hands on your lap. It's polite. It's not polite. Don't do it. It's untrustworthy and it's not charismatic and it's not authentic and it's very strange and odd and uncomfortable when you're sitting at a table and someone's got their hands under the table the whole time. Keep your hands out. Showing your hands is a sign of trustworthiness. It actually establishes trust in other people. If your hands are showing, use your hands in your language. No like crazy wild like hand gestures or anything like that, but use your hands when you're speaking. Show your hands when you're sitting at a table. Always keep your hands in sight. It conveys trustworthiness. It conveys openness and honesty. It conveys integrity and just a sense of authenticity and open, like an openness that you can't communicate in any other way. Keep your hands showing. And again, palms up is a vulnerable position. Palms down is dominant. So if you're sitting at a table and you want to seem open to everybody at the table and open to conversation, if you're asking somebody a question, ask with your hands with your palms up. It means it gives a nonverbal cue that you're actually interested and you're actually valuing what they have to offer you and the information you're looking for. Where if it's palms down, it's defensive. And never, ever, ever cross your arms. Everybody knows this. Everyone's seen it, but don't do it. I mean, we look for these sorts of behaviors and when we interview people in law enforcement, when we're interviewing people and in a forensic capacity, we look for which direction they have their hands, whether it's protective or whether it's vulnerable, and certain things like that, as well as micro expressions and body language and all these sorts of things. They tell everybody so much about you. You have no idea. And people don't even know it, but they recognize these cues and they don't even know why they recognize them. But our brains tell us. Our brains read body language better, even if you don't know you do. So make sure you're aware of your body language and pay attention to where your hands are. Keep them in view. It's going to make you seem more trustworthy and people will feel more comfortable in your presence. And that will make you more charismatic. And my last point is eye contact. So here's the good part. This can be really creepy if you do it wrong. So briefly looking in someone's eyes, not just like passing by eye contact, but look in their eyes. Like, and a trick that can be used to look deeply into someone's eyes, which makes an emotional connection with somebody, and not like an in love or romantic connection, but a humanistic emotional connection, is to deeply look into somebody's eyes. And you do it briefly. It only lapses for a second, but look for the color of their eyes. If you look long enough and deeply enough to see the color of their eyes and recognize it, then that's the depth you want to be looking at their eyes. And that's the depth at which your goal should be. And don't stare and be like, wow, like those are some crazy green eyes you got. Like, none of that. But when you're looking at somebody and making eye contact, look for the color of their eyes, and that will give you the right depth of looking to make a human unconscious connection with somebody that they're not even aware that they've made and you've made, but you initiated it and you've done that. And that is something that will make you memorable. And and especially if you are asking them a question about themselves. If you're asking them a question about themselves and you have your palms up and you're looking at their eyes, you're looking at them, making eye contact, you're looking at the color of their eyes, and you've made this human connection, you're appearing to be trustworthy and vulnerable and interested in the information that you want from them, that you're interested in their life, in their story, in their achievements, in their accomplishments, like I've talked about in previous videos. These are all qualities that are going to transcend into you being viewed as a more trustworthy and a person who has more charisma, and you'll be memorable that way. You'll be seen as a more charismatic person. So that's the video, guys. I kept it under 20 minutes today, and I did it by turning my 20 points of notes into 5. And so I go through my old notebooks, my school books, and I pull out notes on different topics that I think are going to be cool and interesting to you guys. And there's tons of them. There's whole chapters. So like for me to round it into 20 points is hard work. It's hard for me to take it down to 20. So for me to take it down to 5, that was a lot. It's hard to say less. It's easy to say more. So that was tough, but I did it. I've accomplished something. I'm 1% better than I was yesterday by about 10 minutes. Okay, guys, have a great night, and I will see you soon. I hope this video was valuable. If you watched it till the end, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. And I love all your comments. I read as many of them as I can, but for some reason, I get something called the top 2 or top 3 comments, and I can't seem to find the rest of them, so I can't respond to everything like I used to be able to. I used to see every comment, and I could respond, but now I'm just getting a few of them. So if you don't get a response from me, that's why I haven't seen it. So give me a comment, though. I love to read them, and definitely give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe. Please, please, please. I'm trying so hard to grow my channel, and I have been for 2 years. I'm working hard. I'm busting my ass, and I'll see you guys soon. Have a great night.